the game was different, right? The rules was different. The ball
Oh,
was different.
the Euro style is different in America.
The Euro style was a lot different than America.
That's the first time y'all seen that Euro step too, huh?
Absolutely.
Today, on the EuroStepping, we have Coach Jeff Reinert from CSI, all the way in Idaho. He's the head coach of the program. Coach, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. First off, the College of Southern Idaho, the acronym is CSI, is the winningest junior college in the country. They have won more games in junior college, and junior college is a 2-year school. So it's a school where kids that are not seen, that are talented, or academically need a little bit more work, they go to junior colleges. A lot of really good players have come out of junior college. Stacey Ogman, Larry Johnson were two of the famous ones back at UNLV back in the day. But I'm personally from the state of Washington, Washington State in the Pacific Northwest. I played basketball at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque for 2 years. Yeah. And then I transferred to Gonzaga University. A good friend of mine was on the team, and I transferred up there in search of a little bit more playing time. I was probably not as talented for the WAC at the time, and Gonzaga at the time wasn't Gonzaga as it is today. They did have a player by the name of John Stockton on the team, and I played with John I redshirted 1 year when John was a junior, and then my junior year was his senior year. So I got to play with John, and I started alongside John his senior year. We finished about the middle of the league. We had an opportunity to have a special year. We lost a couple close ones, probably because everyone around John wasn't good enough, right? I mean, so from there, I played in Australia for 2.5 years in the state of Queensland. I played for Ipswich basketball. I had a great experience there. I started teaching high school. I really got into coaching at that time with the club, and I really enjoyed it. And then a former Gonzaga assistant, Bruce Wilson at Simpson College, a Division III school. And a Division III school in America is a non-athletic scholarship, all academic scholarships. And so that was kind of the purest form of college basketball, where kids go there for academic reasons and they end up playing basketball. So I was there for 2 years. I got my master's at Drake University in the evenings on the weekends. I was the JV head coach. I was the varsity assistant. I was the intramural director. I was the women's golf coach.
Jeez.
And my first pay was $1,800 for the year. And then I did other things to supplement that. I was the women's golf coach, I was intramural. So I pieced together whatever I could. I was going to grad school at night. I was grinding. I was just learning, and it was a great experience. And then from there, after I got my master's at Drake, I got on at the University of Nebraska, which is a Division I school in Lincoln, Nebraska, really known for American football. I went there for 2 years and worked on a doctorate. And we made the NCAA tournament in the second year I was there. Had a great run there. And then I got a job at BYU. I was one of the few Catholics to ever work at a Mormon school in coaching. Okay. I was the third assistant. I did all the scouts. I did every scout and used to be able to travel to do the scouts. And I just absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. And we made 2 NCAA tournaments. So I had been to 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments. In the last year, I made the NIT, fell a little bit short of the NCAA tournament. And then the job opened in town at a local junior college, Utah Valley State College, which is now Utah Valley University, which is a Division I school. Mm-hmm. I was the head coach there for 8 years. And I competed in the league the school that I'm currently at. And we had a great run there. I left there the all-time winningest coach. We made it to the national tournament, the only time in the school history it ever happened. We sent over 40 kids to Division I schools and had a great run there. I got an opportunity to go to Oregon State in the Pac-10 at the time, which is now the Pac-12.
Okay.
I'd grown up in the Northwest, and I was my dream was always to coach in the Pac-12. So I was there as one of the lead assistants there. I was there for 4 years, had a great run there. My family loved it there. But then I got an opportunity to be the head coach at Fresno, the head assistant at Fresno State, the associate head coach with Steve Cleveland, and had a great time in Fresno. We had 3 NBA players there. One of them was Greg Smith, 6'10" center that played for the Houston Rockets, in and out of the NBA. Tyler Johnson, who was with the Miami Heat, and eventually with the Phoenix Suns, and now he's with New Jersey Nets. He was a left-handed guard, but the big one was Paul George. Paul George was
I've heard of him.
Yeah, pretty good player.
Yeah, come across his name somewhere before.
Yeah, I wasn't the main recruiter of Paul, but I did coach him for 2 years. Sin-Q Carey was the young man that recruited him, and Paul really developed at Fresno State. He got an opportunity to play, and really did a good job. But then after Paul went to the NBA, a year later we got fired, which is a common thing in American basketball. There's only 2 types of coaches: ones that have been fired and ones that will be fired. So Paul went to the NBA, made millions, and we couldn't recover from that. We did the best we could at the time, and then I went to a private Catholic school in Orange County, California, called Santa Margarita Catholic High School. It's famously known for where Klay Thompson went to school. Klay went to school there 5 years before I went there, and we had a great run there. We won 2 championships, played in a third, played at the elite level, played against Chino Hills when they had all the Ball brothers, number 1 in the country. We played some great teams. All those kids are now playing at a high level in the collegiate in the Pac-12 and across the country. I coached my last year we won a CIF championship, and one of my players, Jake Kyman, is at UCLA. Another one is Max Ogbong Polo, who is currently at USC. Both play off the bench for them. Probably will have a chance to be starters down the road. Had a good run. The job opened here at CSI. I got a phone call. Wasn't really interested in leaving Southern California. Beautiful place. We had a great run going at Santa Margarita, but my daughter had graduated and left, and she's currently at Santa Clara playing volleyball. So we went to high school together. I was coaching there. We had a great experience. It was a lot of fun, but it was time to move, and the opportunity to come to CSI, which is one of the greatest junior colleges in the country, if not the greatest. Multiple NBA players have come through here. The most famous recently was Pierre Jackson, who is currently, I think, in China, playing a lot, played for Baylor out of here, was player of the year here. So we're in our year 2. We recruited a player of yours, Joel, and he came at semester, and he is a diamond in the rough, and we're thrilled to have him. We currently have on our team several international players. We have 2 players from Australia, Sudanese refugees that have gone there and now have come here. One of them signed with the University of Portland. The other one's a freshman, so he'll sign the following year. And then we have a young man from Mexico, Sebastian Jimenez, who's a sophomore. And then we have Medit, who is from Canada, another Sudanese refugee. And then we have Satne, who is from the country of Georgia. So we have multiple players we recruit internationally, and we recruit internationally for multiple reasons, because sometimes international students don't have the academic requirements to go to a Division I school or a Division II school in America, just because they don't know, or they just haven't had the exposure. And so we're all over the globe. We're all over the country looking for players that can have an immediate impact at a high level here.
Perfect, Coach. That was a great opener. like if you was to estimate, and I know you've been at CSI for 2 years, but thinking over your, vast career, a vague estimate, doesn't have to be like to the T, but how many international players would you say you've recruited in your time coaching?
That's a good question. When I went to Utah Valley, I went to Brazil and recruited some players. We weren't in Europe that much at that time. We didn't have a huge budget to recruit when I was at Utah Valley. Now, CSI is a little bit different where we do have more of a budget, but I recruited quite a bit when I got to Oregon State. I was in Europe. I recruited a player out of Croatia that really had an impact at Oregon State. And then I signed a couple players out of the Netherlands, and that really helped us. And I've always been involved with international kids. I really like the experience that they're given, and they really appreciate the opportunity. And they're also, with the game in America, trending more towards the European game. They've had a good impact, and they've really had a positive impact here in America.
Definitely. I think the positionless basketball is more, predominant in Europe, and now the American game at all levels seem to be adopting that positionless basketball with the bigs, handling the ball, passing. Definitely. The big question is, why would you recruit an international kid over a domestic?
Well, I don't think we go into saying, hey, we're going to go get, an international kid over a domestic kid. I think it kind of, as it comes to us. And CSI is a vast network of people that have worked here or played here. And so we get recommendations. We get emails that are sent to us. I think so. As we go through it, we'll recruit the state of Idaho. We're from the state of Idaho, so we'll recruit here first. There's not a lot of players in the state of Idaho that are at the national level for junior college.
Yeah.
So we quickly expand to our region, which includes, Utah, and then the West Coast, and then we go within our nation. So, but as players come to us, we recruit them. And, in your case with Joel, that came to us from a former head coach here at CSI. And he said, hey, you need to get on this. This kid is special, and I really like him. And so when he says that, he has a reference of where we're from, it meant a lot. And so that's the way it went for us. But in regards to domestic or international kids, we don't really set the standard of we're trying to go this way more than that way. We kind of take what's presented to us and what our needs are within our program.
Nice. Okay, I got you. Can you explain the process of recruiting an international player from start to finish?
Well, I think the number one thing is in recruiting in general is developing trust in a relationship with the person that you're recruiting and the family, because they're coming a long way from home. When I played overseas, there was no cell phones, there was no internet. You wrote letters. It was lonely, like you're away from your family. So you have to take that in mind, and then you have to understand that their family needs to feel comfortable. Usually the players are gung-ho, that I want to go, but you really have to let family know that we will take care of them when they're here. Not just on the court, right? In the classroom and in life, because most likely this is the first time they're away from home, or so far away from home from their family that they can't go home on the weekend or whatever. So they're here. Pandemic has made things a lot more difficult for kids because, they can't, it's not as free, it's not as easy. Coaches can't go over to see them, video is so important, but I think the trust that there's going to be a relationship here and that we're going to treat them. I always tell them, I'm going to treat them like you're my own son. And so we want to make sure that that's clear, and developing that trust is huge.
Perfect. I like it. And you mentioned a little bit on watching video and stuff. If I'm an international player, how important is my highlight tape? Is it very important? Is it like, can I get signed off my highlight tape, or, talk to me a little bit about that.
So we get highlight tapes all the time. And when we do highlight tape, we see highlight tapes, you better make every shot in the highlight tape, right? And usually they do. And, but you can tell a lot from a highlight tape with athleticism, the ability to shoot the basketball, ball handling, and everything. So it's vital to have a highlight tape, because that's kind of your teaser. Like, that's your trailer of a movie, right? And then you're going to have game film. Game film will tell us a lot. And then aligning with someone that has connections to America is very, very large. Someone that has a reputation, someone that has connections with colleges, because relationships are really big in recruiting, because there's got to be a trust factor. So, you and I did not know each other when this whole thing happened. And it became completely clear in talking with you is that you had a basis of not overhyping a player, because you don't want to be with somebody that overhypes you, because eventually what happens is then they lose trust, right? They lose trust that this guy overhypes it. You got to be careful, whatever. But it became quickly clear in talking with you is when we were talking about Joel, is that you were a grounded person, that, hey, he's not perfect. He's got some things he's got to work on, but the potential for greatness is there. And through the relationship and through conversations and through video, and then Joel was lucky enough to visit. And then the best evaluator is when you can scrimmage or play with our team. In junior college, we can evaluate you up and down on the court. Joel made a big impression with his raw ability that he's going to be a tremendous player down the road. It may not happen today, but it's going to happen. And so we could see that on the visit. We could, and then there's some trust that we could develop both ways. You trusting us, and then we trusting you. So the highlight tapes is important because it's a teaser, but you're going to have a lot more information than that.
What was you touched on it just a little bit again, in regards to what's the best way for an overseas player to get a college coach's attention. And you spoke about, game film and relationships. Is there anything else you wanted to put to that in terms of, little Johnny over somewhere, wants to come to CSI? Like, how does that work?
Well, for example, so you and I have developed a relationship. So anyone from England, I send it to you. So I send it to you because I trust you. And I trust that you would know people in England and all the people there that would, you'd be able to tell me because I trust you. Right? And so it goes back to trust at all times. But, I think, being organized, right? And make sure that when you send an email to a coach, it's not, hey, coach. It's, you've done your research, that, it's Coach Reinert, that you use the coach's first name or the second name out of respect and just describing yourself. Don't send blanket emails to everybody. Those get deleted really fast. Okay. Because the sheer number of them that come in and, whatever, actually knowing who you're sending it to. Because I can look at a tape in 30 seconds and know that this person could not compete at this level, right? So, and all schools are different. We're fully funded as a school. Some schools, if you have money and that you're able to share the cost of education, that opens your door to a lot more schools. And so that's helpful as well. Make sure your transcripts, that you have everything in line, ready to go, ready to send. Those things are important as well, because a graduation certificate to go to junior college is imperative. If you don't have a graduation certificate, you cannot get into junior college. Having a TOEFL exam done in advance is really, really important with an international student, because most schools will require a TOEFL exam. Taking the SAT or ACT is always a good thing, though this year and probably next year, they won't be required that at the Division I level because of the pandemic. So there's lots of things. I would say affiliating yourself with someone like yourself that has connections in America is huge. And your connections will create other connections because of who we know, right? So you might have a player that's not good for us, but we might be able to help you place that player because you helped us get a player. So, I would say your teaser, a connection with somebody, being organized, a personalized email, and follow up with that as well is huge.
Perfect. I like that. Great summary. What should a freshman expect coming into a program? At any level, it's a big thing. What are they looking at?
Well, it's so funny because in Division I, it's different than junior college. So in junior college, sophomores are so much more successful because freshmen are going through a lot of adjustments, especially international players. The food that you're eating now and how to eat right? The reputation is that America eats junk food all the time. And I would say, it's a different eating process here, right? Most of my student athletes, most kids in America are more healthy eaters than when I was, 30 years ago, 40 years ago when I was growing up. So there's healthier choices now that kids eat. But eating is different. Eating is different than Europe, Australia, everywhere. It's all different. That's a big adjustment. School, right? The education system in America is way different than the education system in Europe. So those are two major adjustments, being away from home. The good thing about now is you have the internet. So you can communicate daily, minute by minute with your family on your phones. The phones are a huge benefit. Like I said, when I went away, I had to write a letter. A phone call was $5 per minute, so dad didn't want to talk long. I mean, it was way different, and it's so much cheaper now. I mean, through WhatsApp, you can have phone calls without charge, and it's huge. And so that part of the adjustment of being away from home should be better, but it's a lot of adjustment. And then the way the game is played in America is different, right? It's a completely different game. And though it's starting to meld together, it is different. So there's a vast majority of experiences that freshmen go through that sophomores have already been through. And so usually sophomores are a little bit more successful or a lot more successful than freshmen, but freshmen can have an immediate impact as well.
Nice. A little bit controversial, but there seems to be a negative stigma about junior college by and large, by international players and stuff. Can you talk about that? Can you help put aside any reservations someone might have about going to junior college?
Well, I think most people want to play at Duke or Kentucky or UCLA, right? We all do.
Yeah.
Right? We were all that age, but reality is this. Opportunities to play get better are important. And so you have to find an opportunity for you to play, right? And if you're not now to play at those schools, junior college is a really good thing. This academically go to junior college. That's not it's not true. Although there is an avenue for the academically challenged to go through junior college. That's what a junior college is for overall, discounting athletics, right? Junior college is inexpensive way for someone to go to school. So you may have grades, but you don't have the financial means to pay to go to a university. Like, for example, Central University, where my daughter goes, it's $75,000. I mean, if my wife and I weren't in a position to pay for the first 2 years, we couldn't afford that. My daughter would have had to go to junior college, and it's just financially a lot cheaper, you know. So that's one thing, you know. Where to go at CSI, the education environment, the culture here is at a very, very high level. And so, and you're playing against very high level people. So that way you can really have a great experience. But once you do your research and you understand, you can find a lot of international players that have gone through junior college that have been very, very successful. So the stigma is really not accurate, but you can go to programs that are Division I programs that aren't great programs. I mean, it's all relative. You got to make sure that where you're going and who you're playing for is more important than what the level is.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And I think to piggyback on that, some players, particularly international players, they overshoot their mark. You know, that, you know, you get a school or program like, hey, we're willing to take you, we want you here, and they turn their nose up at it and say, oh no, well, I need to go and play Division I, or I need to go, you know, to a different program, and they get there and they're unsuccessful. So I think, yeah, what you said is completely true.
I think what's really big and a good thing of what you said is Paul Hanari is a former player of mine who was the Olympic coach for New Zealand. He's had a lot of players that overshoot, right? They get a lot of attention, they get whatever, and then they go to a high level Division I school and they don't play, right? So finding a level, whether that's a lower Division I school, it may not be, I mean, so for example, I mean, just look at what Gonzaga has done with international players, right? Majority of the people that have had an impact at Gonzaga have been international students. So they have built their program. St. Mary's, another that is heavily involved with the Australian players, have really had a major impact and changed their program through international players. And so you have to look for places that embrace the international student and have had a history of international players. That's a big key. That's something that you have to take a look at.
And that kind of brings us on to the next question of how best is it, or what advice could you give to an international student to climatize themselves to a program? What can they do to kind of just, you know, fit in?
Well, I think that's, a big part of the culture of where you're going, and you can be part of having a great culture. So, you know, some of my international players that have played for me have really set the culture here, and I've relied on them. Sebastian Jimenez, who's on our team right now, and Joel and Dang Doot, who's from Australia, they have set my culture. And I think that going in to just totally embrace and jump right in with 2 feet and get to know the other players and develop relationships, that will help the transition of you going to another place. And, you know, ask questions, get extra workouts in, develop relationships. Everything in basketball and in life is about relationships. And the better you can form relationships, the easier the transition will be.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah, I love it. Talking about scholarships now, Coach, at your level, at junior college, what type of scholarships do you guys offer? Is there a half scholarship? Is it only full scholarships? And what does that cover? Okay,
so at the College of Southern Idaho, we're a national junior college. We're at the highest level that you can be at. So in being at a CSI or a national junior college, they can offer full ride scholarships, tuition, books, fees, room and board. Some of those schools can also provide airfare. one trip. It's part of the NJCAA rule, okay? And part of the reason for junior college athletics, and the reason for that, is because a lot of the athletes that go to junior college may not financially be in a position to pay for the cost of the expense of the flight. It depends on different programs, how well they're funded. So you have the highest level, and then in junior college, there's Division I, Division II, and Division III, much like there is in four-year settings, okay? So Division III is an all-academic institution where you just get your scholarship monies through your grades. Division II, it can offer up to 10 full-ride scholarships, but they can break those up, okay? And junior college, you have a certain, at the highest level of Division I, you can have up to 15 full-ride scholarships, right? And so, but within that Division I, they're all funded a little different. So, so it's just different for everybody. So we're pretty excited that at CSI that we can be funded at the highest level.
Nice. Perfect. Is a scholarship for the full length of the college career, or for the 2 years they're at junior college, or is it on a year-to-year basis?
1 year renewables. So the myth is that you would sign in as a scholarship for 4 years. Used to be, it's a myth, right? Now there are some conferences in Division I that guarantee that scholarship no matter what. Okay, some of the bigger conferences. Now some of the they're year to year. So at junior college, they're year to year. Now, coaches can take that scholarship at any time, especially if your behavior or your effort in the classroom aren't at the level, or your coachability, that you just refuse to be coached. Those would mainly fall on the player. So it's different for everything.
And can you get your scholarship taken away due to injury?
Well, I think at CSI that wouldn't be the case for sure. Okay. We have funding in place that takes care of that and that protects against that. But every student athlete should have insurance. If it's not provided by the school, I would suggest that they get insurance to protect against any sort of injury, and in case the school does not protect you in that aspect.
Okay, cool. What does a typical college day consist of?
Okay, so that's a great question. Here at the College of Southern Idaho, we're in person for the most part. We do have some online courses because of the pandemic, but for the majority, we are all in the classroom. So usually from 8 to noon, you would be in classes, and then if you don't have a class during the morning, you have an hour in between. Players will come in and get individual workouts, which is absolutely huge here at CSI, big part of the development. And then you have breakfast in the morning, lunch, and then we will have strength and conditioning training for about an hour, 3 days a week, which there's more optional that you can do depending on how much time and how much interest you have on that. And then we'll practice, and we'll practice for approximately 2 hours. We'll have film sessions included with that. And then that's the normal preseason. And then when we get into the season, we'll travel, right? We'll have games on Thursday and Saturday. And if we go on the road, we'll leave on a Wednesday morning. And so you'll communicate with your classes. And what's the beauty of the internet? A lot of the class and coursework you can do online. So travel is so much easier now in America than it used to be. And so it's better. So, and then usually if you're an academic qualifier, you can come to junior college for 1 year and leave. If you're a non-qualifier, you have to graduate from junior college and get an associate's degree before you can advance on.
Nice. Okay, cool. The first series we did, we had a few players that went to junior college and they didn't know that they could stay 1 year. So they were told they had to stay for 2, but they had the academics in place where they could have left. So stuff like that information, I think, is really good for the next generation.
So, and here's the thing, and I'm not trying to promote you. I'm just telling you that if there are people that are listening that are interested in coming to America, is to get affiliated with someone like yourself early in the process, so that you can advise and counsel them about classwork to take, getting part of the eligibility center early, submitting your transcripts yearly, so that you can possibly get certified before your senior year. That's a huge process that someone like yourself can advise and counsel people, so that they don't miss out on opportunities. So that, for example, Joel, we believe, has the academics to be a 1-year player here. If he's ready to go, and if he has interest to go, then he can come here for a year and leave. Now, what we find is a lot of kids, like of Joel's talent, he may benefit from a second year because of the development and the time that we can put into them. At Division I, there's a certain amount of time that they only can be with student athletes, because they want to have the student athlete experience. In junior college, we can train with them quite a bit more. So the development can happen a lot more in junior college than it can happen at the Division I level. And at the end of the day, it's where you are, if you're interested in playing professionally, where you're at your end of your time in college. That's the most important thing. And putting yourself and making wise moves as you progress. Now, you can be start at a junior college and end up in the NBA. It's all, or professional leagues, wherever. So every player is different, but really aligning yourself with somebody that knows the American process, that you trust, right? That someone from your country or someone from Europe would know what to do.
I like it. It's definitely important to have those mechanisms in place so that you can make the right decisions and be informed. Definitely. Does the team train all year round, or is it just the preseason and season that you guys practice and play?
So we can train kids pretty much year round. We used to have a summer program where we could house and feed the students in the summer, but we don't have that currently. But from August to June, you can do a ton of training here at CSI.
Oh, really?
That development, our gym is basically available 24/7. Kids can get in here late at night. Coaches are available. We are fully funded. We have 3 full-time assistants that really dive into our student athletes and get after it. So it does vary from school to school, though. I mean, and you have to be very, very careful about where you go.
Nice. I got you. Makes sense. Now, talking to some coaches in the NCAA, you understand that there's different statuses, like you mentioned, red shirt, medical red shirt, gray shirt. Do you have the same stuff at junior college level?
Sure we do. So there's the medical red shirt or red shirt year that you have. So basically, in America, you have 5 years to complete 4 years of basketball, right? So they put that other year in there, basically, so if you get injured, you don't miss out on one of your years. They kind of put that buffer. That's the original plan for that. So it's now there's what is called a gray shirt, right? A gray shirt is where you don't enroll full time and you're not on scholarship. Okay. So then as soon as you enroll full time in school, your athletic and academic clock starts. So that's the kicker. So what would happen sometimes in junior colleges, especially, is kids would enroll part-time. And then when they enrolled part-time, that allowed them to develop their skill level, their overall strength, and then it also allowed them to mature a little bit more. And so that's a tool that people have used and can use to help them grow and mature. But currently in America, there's legislation that you can transfer immediately if you're a graduate student. And so in theory, if someone graduates from UCLA and UCLA doesn't have the graduate degree that you're looking for, you can transfer immediately to another school and play a final year of eligibility if you graduate early. So that's what's happened, a lot of transfers in America. There's also a rule that could possibly come into effect in which a division, you can transfer after your sophomore, freshman, or junior year without graduating and transfer immediately. There's legislation that is up for that, and that has not been passed yet, but it is deemed that that's going to happen. Okay.
Wow, that's inside scoop. Going to look out for that one. How important, and we've mentioned it already, but how important is the academics side for the student athletes, and is there a bit more pressure for international students to have better grades?
I think predominantly international students are better students. In general, they have a career path that's set a little bit earlier, it seems like, but not necessarily. But your academic piece is huge. So at CSI, our team GPA is a 3.43. We have 5 4.0 students. We have 4 3.8 or higher students. It's a big emphasis here at CSI, and so that's less maintenance that I have to do as a coach, and that I don't have to worry about moving forward. So your academics is a huge piece to everything, especially if you want to advance to Division I, because if you have your grades in order before going to a junior college, that means that you can transfer after 1 year. If you don't have your grades in order, then you are stuck 2 years in junior college to get your grades and to graduate with your associate's degree, with a 2-year degree.
Okay. And, hopefully anyone watching this won't have bad grades or not planning to, but let's say a kid gets into a program and it's college life, parties, distractions, and their grade drops below, I think it's a 2.3 to play.
So we don't even really encounter that here. It used to be 2.0. You used to have a 2.0 to be eligible to play.
Okay.
So, which is a very low standard. But again, junior college is made for the student that may have struggled or financially can't afford to go to a 4-year institution. So educating kids that are deficient in maybe English, which could be very well international student, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't go to a 4-year Division I school because they don't speak the language, right? It's a big deal. So a junior college is a place where you can learn the English language. So there's remedial English courses for you to develop your English skills. So, but having a strong education base is invaluable to move you quickly to where you want to go.
Now, if you don't have the grades, at some part of the semester, can you still play games and can you still practice?
Well, the number one requirement to play in junior college is that you graduate, right? Okay. So every term, you have to have a certain GPA and pass a certain number of hours, which your coach will know, right? So you have to be moving towards your degree. That's our goal here as educators, is that you're moving towards your degree. You're having a foundation so that you have skills after basketball is over, that you can have a job, so that when you're old like me and you can't run up and down the floor anymore, that you have a job, right? And so that's the beauty of American intercollegiate athletics, right? It creates people that allows them to get degrees so that they can get jobs later on in life that maybe you didn't have, that it wasn't important to you at the time, but you end up with a degree. And so I love the game of basketball. To play the game of basketball in America, you had to go to school, right? Some can argue that's a bad system. or that the system in Europe is better. That if you want to play the game of basketball, you go to a club, and if you want to get an education, you go to here. In America, we intertwine that, and I think it's been a good thing for America. I think it's the student athlete has been an absolutely spectacular thing for us in America.
Okay. Coach, I'm really enjoying this. Thanks for your time, man. I'm really enjoying this.
No problem.
Last couple questions. What's the basic life fundamentals a freshman should have going into college?
Well, I think basic life fundamentals is that you have to be independently strong. You have to understand that you have a goal and an aspiration, and that you are moving towards a goal. And there's going to be hard times being away from your family, but the way technology is today, like you and I are talking, and we're in the same room, it feels like, right?
Yeah.
And you can see someone's face, and that's, today we wear masks all the time, but now we can see each other. We can see your facial expressions, and there's a connection that we can have. So, that makes it a lot easier today, right? You have to have a self-discipline in what you're doing. You have to be able to get out of your bed that's nice and warm and go to class, right? That's a hard thing for freshmen sometimes, right? And you have to have discipline. You have to have discipline to go to bed at the right time, get the proper amount of sleep. You have to eat properly, right? You can't eat crap all the time. You have to have discipline in that. And you have to have discipline to plan your day, from when you're going to get a workout in, when you're going to get your study time in, and get involved in your classes and love what you're doing. Embrace the moment of, hey, I'm in America. I'm doing something that probably less than 0.5% get to do that play this game. And the opportunities that are in America are vast and fun. So just like I had an opportunity to go play in Australia, I was lucky to be able to do that. So I just love the experience I had, and anyone coming to America should love their experience here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Looking at parents, just briefly, what type of relationship do coaches, or you take yourself for example, what type of relationship do you have with parents, and can parents call you whenever they feel the need to? So if they think that little Johnny's not eating, or his clothes isn't washed, or something like that, what is the level of relationship?
So understand that we're trying to raise young men here, right? So the communication that we have should be with the player, right? So that's not to say that we don't want to talk to parents, but we want to make sure that the players are advocating for themselves. If they don't understand why they're not playing, shame on me, right? I should make it very, very clear. So like with a player that we got from you, he came here at semester. Yes. Great opportunity, especially this year, because this year doesn't even count towards his eligibility, right? So he was 70 practices behind when he got out here.
Jeez.
You can only imagine, right? Joel's raw, young, energetic, strong, talented young man, but he's behind. And so what I've done, I've communicated with you and said, hey, this is where he's at. And I've been proactive in my communication so that when Joel gets frustrated, you already have an idea what's going on. We will have conversations with parents, but mainly the conversations that we're going to have with parents is how he's functioning off the court, to our knowledge, and then how he's doing academically. And there's only so much that we can communicate academically, because we have FERPA rules in regards to privacy of a student athlete's or any student's grades. So what a parent can do is get signed a waiver that they know what's going on academically, but the player has to sign off on that so that information can be released.
Okay, nice. So you wouldn't welcome a phone call from somebody's mother saying, Coach, man, I sent you my guy, I sent you my son, and he's not playing any, minutes. You need to play him more.
I wouldn't say that I haven't got those phone calls. I've gotten them a lot more when I was a high school coach. And when I was in an affluent area, and that was a whole different situation. In junior college, we really don't get many phone calls. And the phone calls that we do have are straightforward and pretty honest, as well as, hey, have your son come talk to me, and then he will relay that information to you. If he's not understanding something, then, and you still are confused, then we can have a conversation. You may not like to hear that conversation, but you will get that conversation. And, you know, everyone has the ability that if it's not working out, that the player or the parent, you know, anybody's able to leave and go somewhere else. Be careful what you wish for, because, you know, especially at the College of Southern Idaho, I don't know of a better situation for parents to send their young men. We have a 3.43 GPA, which is unbelievable on a 4.0 scale for junior college, as in Division I. The opportunity to get better is great here. We have probably 12 Division I players that you're competing against daily, and as well as game time is great. That's only 10% of your development here at CSI. 80% of your development is in practice and through individual workouts. And so if you don't take advantage of that, shame on you.
I like it. Well said, Coach. Well said. Now, you mentioned your daughter earlier going off to college and stuff, and you've been dealing with a lot of international parents, you know, because you have the children. What advice would you give to parents that are concerned about their sons living thousands of miles away in a, you know, foreign country and away from all their creature comforts, if you will? What kind of, you know, consoling advice can you give them?
Well, here's the number one thing. I'm a parent, right? So when I sent my daughter off to school, I wasn't worried, okay? Because my wife and I parent well together. Over the years, we may have different opinions on things, but when we parented exactly right. We were disciplined with our daughter, but we also gave her freedom. We weren't so disciplined when we raised her that she wouldn't make mistakes. Like, we didn't protect her. And when she was going through tough times in Southern California volleyball and didn't get to play, and we didn't run to the coach. We didn't try to stop her from falling and getting a scab on her knee and learning the pains of things like that. So when she went to school, she was prepared. And I think most international parents, if you've raised your son or daughter correctly, there shouldn't be much concern, right? I mean, you're always going to worry about your son or daughter. Every time my daughter leaves and she's driving somewhere, I tell her to be careful, right? I mean, that's our natural
instinctive,
parents, right? I think daily, well, you don't need to have daily communication, but communication, you can do that now. You can see them face to face. If there's warning signs that you're seeing, right? Call the coach and say, hey, he's acting a little bit different. Have you noticed anything? All that type of things. But being organized and disciplined, if you've raised your son or daughter the right way, the majority of the time, your concerns should be eased, right? We're able to see a lot more than we used to see and communicate a lot more than we didn't used to. So I would say, you know, because of technology, you can see your kid more and have some comfort in seeing them on a daily basis. And I would say, you know, weekly conversations at the least are very important. How are grades going? How is it competing? Tell me about the team, you know. But I think the number one thing that I would tell all parents, international or non-international, have real conversations with your son or daughter that don't include athletics, and don't get in the car after a game and impose your will on them. I started doing this with my daughter, and I called it the 1 minute rule. And I said, hey, 1 minute, you got to listen to me. And she goes, oh, great, only 1 minute. So then I'll say, and often what the first couple of times I said, honey, I love you. I absolutely enjoy watching you play. I enjoy the joy that you get from playing the game. I enjoy the lessons that you're learning from athletics. You're going to fail, right? How you handle that failure is going to determine how successful you're going to be. How you handle success will determine how successful you're going to be. I remember one time she was playing basketball, and she is not a basketball player. They had a game, and she goes, "Oh, we played this game earlier. We're going to beat them." I said, I wouldn't take anyone for granted. They lost the game. She came back and said, "Coach, Dad, you were right." And I said, "Hey, it's a lesson. She's learned that lesson. She's never forgot that lesson." But 1 minute. And I would say in that 1 minute that you have with her or him, tell them how much you love them and how much you appreciate them and how much joy I see you're getting from the sport. Then when you've built up enough credibility, you might say, "Honey, you didn't hustle after that ball. What was going on?" Or you might say, "Hey, Coach, how come you're not shooting the ball more? How come you're not shooting the ball like you did?" Well, you might say, "Hey, Dad, I have a role to fill on this team. And my role is to move the basketball because Johnny's our better shooter. And we want to try to get and play through him. But when we play through him, he creates other shots for other players and I might get some shots. But if I go get rebounds and I run the floor, I'm going to score a lot more." And that's the reason why I'm not shooting more. But as parents, all we remember is you shot the ball all the time when you were younger. How come you're not doing it now, right? So it's a way to ask questions for your son or daughter so that they don't feel the pressure that you feel from your parents. And when that happens, and when you put so much pressure on your son or daughter, then they lose to the love and the passion for the game. And when that goes, you're heartbroken as a parent. I don't know if that answers your question.
It did. That was pretty beautiful. I mean, it made me. I mean, my son's not old enough to be there, but I definitely, might adopt that 1 minute rule. Hopefully, I can keep it to 1 minute. But yeah.
Well, if they want to talk more, you let them talk more.
Okay.
Go get an ice cream. Go get something. Enjoy the moment because it's going to be over. And I'll tell you this, and I'll tell all parents this, don't miss any games. They're going to be gone before you know it. My wife and I have made a commitment to go see my daughter play as much and every time as possible. My wife works out of the house, so she can work anywhere. And so she's made every game, and I've made it a priority that I'm going to be there whenever possible. And there will be one game I miss this year. It'll be senior night at Santa Clara. Ryan Lundgren, my assistant, will coach that game. And I don't care if it's the championship game to go to the national tournament. Family comes first in our family, and I will miss all the other games, but I won't miss that one game. Awesome, Coach. I love it. Hopefully she gets the win on that game. Last real question, last one. And this is great because it just ties into what we just spoke about. But, you get all these freshmen and they're miles and miles away from home, whether they're domestic or international. And you're kind of, you're self-independent. And now you've got a whole world of distractions. So you've got alcohol, you've got drugs, you've got sexual relations. Can you kind of help advise? Do you have any stories about, when stuff went wrong or whatever? Like, what can you say to the freshmen that are trying to, or not just the freshmen, but anyone in college that are trying to navigate these distractions? Well, here again, it goes back, I think, to strong parenting, right? And so that when you're sending your son or daughter off, they have a basis of what they're doing. And to be honest with you, sometimes European kids, and I believe this is true, that the drinking age is at a lower level, age, right?
18.
So sometimes they're able to handle the drinking better than American kids, right? And so they've been around it in the home, and so it's more of a natural process. So where that you don't drink to get drunk, you know what I mean? Anything in moderation is okay, right? So there's rules and regulations with every institution, that need to be followed. Understand that all international students are on a visa. And so breaking of laws when you are on a visa could result in losing your visa and having to go home. I think that is something that is really, really important for all international students to really understand, that you're under a little bit tighter scrutiny than most kids, because you have gotten a great opportunity to come to America. That can be taken away from you, and your coach cannot protect you from that. So the school has policies that you have to adhere to, as well as your team rules. Here at CSI, you're drug tested, and you can be randomly drug tested at any time. And we have a 2-strike penalty. If you test positive for drugs a second time, then you are gone. And so it's about the environment that you're going to, I really believe. Women are another thing, right? I mean, it's going to be there. You watch any NBA game, you look behind the bench when there's fans, you're going to see a lot of women behind the bench. And so those are distractions for NBA players as well. So there's distractions at collegiate level at a lot of different levels. So, but managing that and understanding that really determines the culture of the program that you're going to.
Coach, that was definitely great moderation, and I believe the grounding, the parenting, remembering your parenting definitely is going to come a long way, and not being easily swayed. That was fantastic, Coach. Those are all the questions. The last thing I will get you to do is, again, if I've got a kid in Greece and, he's looking at a couple of programs, he's of decent talent and he's thinking of coming to, CSI, what can you tell us about your program that makes you guys so unique or so good, and why you should consider coming to CSI?
Well, I think that whatever program that people are considering, you have to consider multiple things. The culture of the place that you're going, where you can develop. And at CSI, we have a great situation in which our gym is available all the time. We have 3 full-time assistants that do nothing but skill development. And your development as a player is important. Our academic pieces are in place for you to be successful and winningest junior college in the country. So, and we've had a great tradition of international players here. So if you're looking for an environment to really grow and move on from here, this is probably one of the best places in the country.
Coach, I love it. Thank you so much for your time. Some real words of wisdom. That was great. Wishing you and the team, we're going to stay in contact anyway, but definitely wishing you guys a best of luck and with the rest of the season.
All right. Well, thank you a lot, Daniel. I want to thank everybody for watching EuroStepping. And if you are a talented player that's looking to come to America, I would talk to Daniel and I would seek his advice and counsel about getting here. He has a great reputation out there.
Appreciate you watching the EuroStepping.
I want to thank everybody for watching EuroStepping.
Watching the EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
You've been watching the EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
EuroStepping.
You've been watching the EuroStepping, a great podcast show hosted by Coach D.